Captain Maynard.
If I may, Captain Maynard, for the record, each person that wants to be on this list has to meet all the requirements, sign the form, just like anyone else there's no special treatment. You don't get to just fill in a name. As far as the logistics of how that would look on a permit, I would defer to Maureen Hollinger. She could probably give you a better idea of how multiple people on a permit would work. As far as the requirements, though, they would be identical. No one gets a free pass on that.
Oh, we were just wondering if it would be cumbersome to do that. We were just wondering if it would be cumbersome or if a cutoff number it would work better.
Maureen Hollinger, Nevada Department of Wildlife License Office. You tell me a number, I'll make it work. Currently, we have, in our scientific collection world, we have other designated collectors. We list the names. You know, the rules are in place in the regulation for those people to sign off of on the application. So it would just be listing the names on the permit as to what, you know, as the designated assistants. And then how I'm understanding it is it could change who the actor is in the field from day to day because of who's available. You know, to be able to punch the tag or assist with the tag or assist retrieving, but, you know, there wouldn't be anyone that's the one go-to person depending on the day in the field, but yeah, we can easily do that. We can easily accommodate it.
So
we do it on other permits.
While you're at the microphone, do you foresee any logistical issues if we don't put any cap or restriction on the number of people you can list on the permit, so long as they meet all the requirements?
They're attesting to meeting the requirements, but I can't speak to that. I have to, you know, I don't know what is a valid number to help in the field. You know.
Nor do I, so that's why I don't think putting a kind of cap on it makes sense. But
I think on the application form is, you know, do you want me to have 3 pages attached for names? I mean, that's where that question is going. I think it would be reasonable to put a limit. I mean, how many people does it take to bring an elk in? I don't know. I've never been elk hunting. So, I mean, that's the type of situation that could occur. You've got a big animal out in the field that, you know, what's reasonable? I don't know.
But as far as that goes, you're only going to have the one person that's the designated person at the time during the hunt. I mean, you may have a list of people that are there, but you could have a list of people that are there in any circumstance. But I don't foresee that being a problem. I just really don't.
Just how many lines would you like me to have on the application to allow them to take in the field, I guess is, you know, I'll make sure the form reads accordingly. So.
I just don't think it's going to be a problem. I think people are going to identify 3 or 4 individuals who are going to potentially serve in that capacity, maybe 5. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think someone's going to submit a list of 50 names saying, well, maybe one of these 50 are going to do it. I just don't see that happening. It's gonna, I mean, I don't even have like 10 friends that I could list. So,
Mr. Chairman, one comment I would like to make. Permits are amendable. I mean, if they find a situation where they get their permit and 4 out of the 5 people come up and say, my work arrangements have changed, I need to have a new list, that's not hard to do. We just tell us who they are, we'll amend the permit. I mean, there's that too that we can do, so.
I agree with Commissioner Johnson. 5 spaces, I think, would probably be ample in 99% of the cases, I suspect. But there's always that one. Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Johnson, too. It's really, number one, we're probably not going to have a lot of these permits, relatively speaking, number one. Number two, if you get a couple that want to put 50 names down, you know, adapt to it. If it becomes a problem, we can readdress it. I mean, we can reevaluate it. I don't know where I don't see it as an issue.
Jack Robb for the record. I'm listening to this conversation and I'm thinking back to where this comes from, and it's outdoorsmen in wheelchairs. And you may have 15 to 20 volunteers out there helping 3 to 4 hunters. And you don't know what volunteer is going to be with what hunter on each day. So it could have up to 20 hunters on the permit, and it could be the same 20 hunters on 4 different permits or under 4 different tags. So all this discussion, I'm thinking back to where we're at, it could be up to 20, and those same 20 could be on 4 different tags.
Okay, so 20 lines. Anything further? Commissioner Valentine?
I'm going to go back to 2A again and just suggest maybe a change if the commission is acceptable to that particular statement. The designated licensed assistant must be accompanied in the field within a reasonable distance at all times during the hunt. In my mind, that clarifies it, so.
I'm fine with that, except I would say the acting designated licensed assistant. That way you don't have to have, the commissioner, deputy director, Rob's 20 guys, all with the hunter. Either way, I'm fine with it.
I agree with that as well. Commissioner Young?
Chad Bliss had given me a video and a presentation package to take to a gentleman that he was trying to get to film with him, and Jack's right on, spot on. With we're developing a solution for a problem that does not exist, and I couldn't agree more. There's going to be a variety of people out there from what I saw in Chad's video, and Chad's done a lot of that, former Commissioner Chad Bliss, and I think the form's just fine. It'll work itself out, depending on the hunt and the hunter.
Captain Maynard, do you have any?
Just to reiterate what Deputy Director Rob said, and Commissioner Young, this is all about people who need accommodation to help them enjoy a privilege that many of us take for granted at times. We are going to be training our folks so that when we encounter this in the field, we're going to be very fair in our application of enforcement towards people that are doing this. We're going to take the appropriate steps on the application end to make sure that everybody's listed. They all understand what their job is. As far as the accompaniment goes, we're going to try and be reasonable without being overly restrictive. There are some people with some very severe level, not all disabilities are equal, even under the definitions that are already given to us to work with. So some people may require more accommodation, and that's fine, as long as, Maureen Hollinger can print out another sheet with another 20 names on it. The game warden checking him in the field isn't going to care. That's fine. Well, they just carry one extra piece of 8 by 10 paper, and it's all going to work.
Okay. Anything further from the commission? Hearing none, Captain Maynard, are you satisfied with the information you needed today?
Yeah, I'll make sure and review the video, just so I don't forget anything I wrote down. But hopefully I'll get a polished version knocked out within the week.
Excellent, thank you.
And I think I could summarize it, just taking notes here. I think on page 2, item 7, we wanted to make sure the permanent disability is defined in section 4, number 1, whether that means listing A, B, and C or just referencing back up. I think we would add the language that you proposed to us in sub 3. We wanted to make sure in section 5 that it was each listed designated assistant that's in the field must have the license in their possession for the permit.
Okay.
On page 4, we talked about the acting designated license assistant with Mr. Valentine's language or the language you proposed. I don't know that we ever landed on anything there.
I
But
think
those were
it's
the
pretty much, from what I understand, it was the same language, you just had the word active.
Was that right, Commissioner Valentine? Or-
Well, no,
I thought you had a different variation.
Or do you have additional?
Yeah, I added, must be accompanied in the field within a reasonable distance. And to me, that's clarification for the acting designated license. Just so he's aware that it's okay, just as long as the hunter with the tag is on a dirt road within, a mile or so,
I guess
and not on his couch at home.
precisely. Mostly the biggest, when we looked at this was actually a bit of an issue, and it's probably one of the biggest ambiguities in the entire regulation. Without having to open this up too far afield, basically it means that both people are in the field, the acting designated assistant and the disabled hunter. And the designated assistant is acting in that capacity that he is empowered to function as. He can go over the ridge. We didn't want to put a certain distance limit, because if the deer goes a mile and 100 feet, does that mean he's breaking the law? And the answer to that is no. It's the same with the original language you took it from in 502-149. The guide must accompany. And usually how we've interpreted that in the past, and the chief could probably provide guidance as well, is accompany means the guide is in the field, he's not at home, he's not asleep in the camp. And each of those circumstances will have to be judged by the circumstances that we find in the field. If you want to start limiting the distance that they have to be to the disabled hunter, obviously that can be done, but they're running a risk there once you put a bright line in a regulation saying, well, this, you can go here, but if you go any farther than that, no. So I would just submit that that's, obviously your decision to make, but to be careful with what we want to put in hard language here would be my concern.
I guess my druther is if the department and enforcement is comfortable with that language, I think we're saying the same thing, just in a different way. If that's the language you guys are most comfortable with, I would simply add the acting designated licensed assistant. And if there's precedent for using that with the guides, whatever. I think we're saying the same thing, just a little bit different spin on it, so
Okay.
personally.
Well, are we adding in the field, accompanied in the field?
We can put in the field, that's a good addition.
And then the wording is the same in both.